the horse, that you want the horse to do that action. And by using herd dynamics, this becomes easier to do. Now then, if we are able to take this position right here, if we are able to take and mentally become a lead horse, then if we could become this horse, or this horse right here, if we could become this horse, we could control all these other horses. We could direct and tell these horses what to do simply by inserting ourselves at the top of the pecking order. Now then, how do we insert ourselves into this pecking order? By mimicking the herd dynamic actions that horses do all the time. Now, you'd be surprised how many times people will say to me, well, that doesn't work because the horse knows that you're not a horse. I don't know if the horse knows that I'm not a horse, because I don't really know how horses perceive us. How does a horse know exactly what it looks like? It's just one of those things that really is not germane to the conversation here. I'm just pointing out to you that when people tell me that, well, that horse knows that you're not a horse, I want to know how they know that. But I do know that horses will respond not to the being, but they will respond to the actions performed by that being. It's just like in Michigan, where I come from, I have seen Volkswagen-sized goose decoys in a goose field. And I have seen geese come down to those decoys. Those decoys are big enough for a man in a TV set, a coffee pot, and you name it. And he sits in there in comfort, waiting for these geese to fly over and look at those Volkswagen-sized decoys. And for some reason, why doesn't that goose say to himself, wait a minute, there's a goose down there that's bigger than anything I want anything to do with. But they respond to the shape of the goose and not the size. I've also seen on the Discovery Channel where researchers have carried moose antlers on their heads. And they have proven that it is the size of the moose antlers that determines the rank of the moose in the pecking order. The lesser antlered moose will give way or pay homage to the antlers. Why don't they say to themselves, wait a minute here, here's half of a moose. In other words, just a guy carrying antlers around and doing whatever. Can't those moose see that it's not a moose, it's a guy carrying antlers? He's not responding to the being, it is responding to the actions of the antlers presented. And by doing the same thing here, by duplicating the actions that we use here in this dynamics that the horses use, we can then get the horse to respond exactly like it does with this one here. We can get these horses down here to respond exactly like it does to this one here. We can insert ourselves here. We can control all of these other things. Horses are genetically pre-programmed to respond in a set way to these herd social actions or herd dynamics. Now then, what determines a leader? What determines a herd leader? Basically, a leader is someone that calls the shots. When I'm doing clinics, I tell people, I bring somebody in, I'm working with them, I tell them, I want you to stand here. They stand there. And then I tell them, I change my mind, stand over here. They stand over there. And I go, stand here, stand here, stand here, stand here, stand here. And after about a half a dozen of those stand here's, they're thinking, what's the matter with this nut? Can he decide where it is he wants me to stand? And it'll get, after about a half dozen of those things, to where all I have to do is just start leaning. And that person will automatically start leaning too. And it'll get to the point to where I won't even have to say stand here, stand here, stand here. All I have to do is move, they move. I move, they move. Now then, which one of us two are the leader? The leader is the one calling the shots, the follower is the one doing. That is the essence of a leader. A leader directs, a follower follows. And in a herd situation, a leader leads, a follower follows. And horses, being genetically pre-programmed to respond to herd dynamics, for some reason I believe that a horse will say, wait a minute, this being over here is telling me what to do, and I'm doing it. If this being over here is telling me what to do, and I'm doing it, that being must be a leader, I must be a follower. And a horse knows how to follow. All horses know how to follow. If you can convince that horse that you are the leader, it will follow. And all you have to do to convince that horse that you are a leader is to mimic the herd actions and take those rights and enforce them. Now then, one of the things that I always do when somebody brings a problem horse to me is I put it through a herd dynamics procedure. I have put the herd dynamics procedure to print and placed it on the internet, and you can find a copy by sending any email to bonder@marvwalker.com. In a few moments after sending the email, you will get an automated response telling you some horse information that I want you to know. One is that horses are incredibly dangerous, and it is not a question of if you will be injured, but when. And those injuries will range from anything from chipped fingernail polish to a fate worse than death. And people have often said, well, what's fate worse than death? I said, fate worse than death is opening your eyes and having a guy bending over you wearing a surgical mask and saying, I'm Dr. Jones, blink once for yes and twice for no. And in addition to the information that I want you to know about horses and horse things in general, you will find the location on the internet of this procedure, and you can go to it and you can see what it is. When people bring me a problem horse, the very, very first thing that I do is I put it through a horse dynamics procedure that has come to be known around the world as Marv Walker's Bonder or the Bonder. It is basically putting the horse through herd dynamics to where I exhibit horse leadership actions to that horse until that horse says, wait a minute, he is telling me what to do and I am doing it. Therefore, he must be a leader, I must be a follower. And horses are born followers. They are the most tractable animals on earth. And they will honor the higher ranking beings in a herd, providing that higher ranking being has the ability to maintain that position. And I say that I put all the problem horses through. If somebody comes to me and they say, I've got this horse who bites and who physically attacks people, and I get them quite a bit, where horses are very dangerous. Anybody that comes around them, they're automatically putting themselves in danger. And if I look over and I see that that horse has several cervical vertebrae out of whack, I know immediately that that horse is in discomfort. He's ill-tempered because he doesn't feel good.